For over 60 years, the Muppets have been delighting viewers from around the world with their charm and humor. One of the longest ongoing franchises in entertainment, they are a brand synonymous with joy. I wanted to talk about them because I feel like joy is something our world is lacking right now. Now, this month is a big month for the Muppets. There's a couple reasons. The first is that Muppet creator and entertainment icon Jim Henson would have turned 89. And if you haven't seen the documentary on Disney Plus, Jim Henson Idea Man, I 100% recommend you watch it, especially if you're an artist such as myself. Super inspirational, so go watch it. Also, there's been other Muppet news this month that I found out, or it was announced while I was writing this video, so I will talk about that later though. Also, if you go to the University of Maryland, you are very fortunate because you have a statue of Jim Henson and Kermit the Frog, and I'm a little jealous, but also my school is better, so. The Muppets are my favorite group in all of fiction, and it's really not even that close. When I look at my top 4, so the Muppets, Toy Story, the Peanuts, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, they are all similar in the fact that they sort of follow this idea of a found family. And this is my favorite trope because it also tells you that you can be weird and silly and kind of a goofball, but people will still love you. And I think that's important for us to hear as humans. So why are the Muppets special? I think there's a whole bunch of different answers. It could be the diversity of the characters, the creativity of their voices, or even the facial expressions. But I think one of the biggest ones is that every movie and every character are different. And I'll talk about all the movies later, so don't worry. But the reason that's important is because every human is different, and so we can relate to different things about the different characters. I also think the Muppets are important for different generations. So, for example, my parents grew up with The Muppet Show, and it's super exciting because, as I mentioned earlier, when I was writing this video, I saw the announcement that The Muppet Show was coming back in 2026, produced by Seth Rogen and starring Sabrina Carpenter. And I'm honestly, personally, super excited for it. I think it's going to be so much fun. Whereas my generation, we grew up with this idea of, am I a Muppet or am I a man? And the answer is, why not be both? One of my favorite quotes is, there isn't much adult in every child, but there is a lot of child in every adult. And basically what this says is that when you're a child, you don't know much about the real world, but when you're an adult, there's still part of you that wants to be the child you left behind. And our society constantly tells us no. And I do think that's appropriate in most circumstances. I'm not saying to act like children all the time, but I think the Muppets give us the opportunity to escape from the hardships of the world, because it's not a super happy place all the time. That isn't to say that good things aren't happening in the world right now. For example, the blue macaw birds, which are known from the movie Rio, were formerly thought to be extinct. But studies show that they're back, which is super exciting. If you're into birds, I'll link a study in the description below. But good things are happening. It just might take a bit of digging to find. One of the many strengths of the Muppets is their nostalgia. I mean, what other film franchise has been around since 1979 and has consistently made things that the fans enjoy? There's not many. I've heard people go as far as to say that the 8 main Muppet movies are the best franchise in film history, and I would agree. They might not make the most money at the box office, but that isn't the point. And I wish more studios and more people understood money isn't the main concern. They don't make Muppet movies to make the most money. If they did, they wouldn't make Muppet movies. They make Muppet movies because we, as fans, we enjoy them so much. It's not about the money, it's about something more than that. And this is why programs like the National Public Radio and the Public Broadcasting Service, and if you don't know what those are federally funded media sources that provide children's entertainment for free. And I know personally, I grew up with PBS Kids like Sesame Street, Wild Kratts. They were so big to me. Sid the Science Kid, like, come on. If For those of you that don't know why I'm bringing this up, the United States federal government is cutting these services because it costs too much money. I think it's because these shows teach kids how to be kind and how to share. That's super dangerous in a world that's fueled by hatred and greed. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, I don't know. But probably my favorite Muppet lesson is that you can enjoy doing things you aren't good at. And I've needed to hear this lately because I've been super discouraged in my artwork. I'm always thinking, not good enough, not a good student, not a good artist. But I think that's why the Muppets do so well, is because they always hit you when you need to be hit. This is kind of confusing, so I'm going to explain it to the best of my ability. But for example, my favorite Muppet is the Swedish Chef, but he is not good at being a chef. Alright, Gonzo isn't good at doing stunts. He messes up most of the time. Fozzie isn't funny when he tells jokes. Miss Piggy isn't good at singing. And Kermit is a bad host. If you ever watch The Muppet Show, it never goes right. They still do it. Every week, they always come back and they show you that even though you're not good at something, it's still worth doing. This summer, I don't know what happened. I had like an existential crisis, but I started thinking about who I wanted to be, and I learned that what I want is to make people happy. And if I'm not doing something that's making people happy, then I don't think it's worth doing. And that's why I'm excited for this channel, because I'm hoping that by sharing my views on certain things, I can bring joy to other people. One of my other favorite things about the Muppets is that every movie is different. It has a different lesson. For example, The Great Muppet Caper is about trusting relationships and trusting your friends. Muppets Take Manhattan is about learning the price of success, not giving up on your dreams. It also deals with super mature themes such as memory loss. At the end, there's a wedding and all the characters from Sesame Street are there. Muppets Christmas Carol and Muppets Treasure Island are a bit more difficult because they're based off of pre-existing literature. Muppets from Space is about realizing that what you have is more important than what you could have had. 2011 revival basically says that even after a long time, people still love you, and that trying is never a waste of time. Let me say that again. Trying is never a waste of time. It's also about meeting your heroes and seeing your friends after a very long time. And The Muppets Most Wanted is about trusting and supporting your friends when they need your help. Now, earlier this year, Muppets Courtyard in Disney's Hollywood studio closed down permanently. And I grew up going to Disney World every couple years. I love it. It's a big part of me. And I was talking to my dad about it. Before it closed, it was super busy, but while it was open, it wasn't busy. And my dad compared it to like your childhood bedroom. Even though like after you leave home, you're never gonna live there again, but you don't want it to change because it's a part of you that reminds you of when life was simple, and that's the part of you you don't want to change. And I think that's why things like Star Wars, the sequels of Star Wars, haven't done well. It's like they took your bedroom and they moved everything, but then they tried to put it back, but it still feels off. Whereas I think the Muppets, they haven't changed. In 50 years of films, they remain pretty much the same. One of my favorite parts of the first movie is near the beginning when Dom DeLuise tells Kermit that he has a talent to make
millions of people happy.
And as I mentioned earlier, that's one of my goals in life. Kermit attempts to travel across country on bike with the sole goal of making people happy. There's no money guarantee, it's just to make people happy. How many people do you know that would ride a bike across the entire country with the only reward is knowing that other people are happy? Now, I think we, as a culture, need the Muppets. There's only one person that I've met that doesn't like the Muppets, and I'm not gonna name names because I don't need to. And you're also probably not watching this, but if you are, you know who you are, and be better. A world without the Muppets is not one that I personally want to live in. And I'm lucky that I don't think that's going to happen. We need the Muppets. There's no children's media, and when I say children's, it's loose because anyone can find enjoyment in it. But there's no children's media that does a better job at teaching kids how to be good people than the Muppets, and that is so important. Now, we're nearing the conclusion of this video. I've been recording for many hours because I keep getting scared. Also, my phone ran out of storage like 4 times. So I want to conclude it now before I run out again. The Muppet movie is in my top 20 movies of all time. It's currently at number 20. And I've seen almost 800 movies, so that's a big deal. Rainbow Connection is probably my favorite song in all of film history. And earlier this year, I watched all of these movies with one of my roommates. And we watch a lot of movies, so that's not super surprising. But I had seen most of these movies, and I don't think he had seen any. So it was super cool to watch these movies with him because I kind of laughed at all the jokes and I looked crazy.
Okay.
But it was also cool to see someone experiencing this in full for the first time. And we have very similar opinions on them. They're just good movies. People discredit them because they're, as I said earlier, children's media. But I don't think that's a problem because they're still good for anyone. And they teach us that it's okay to love and to dream and to do things we're not good at, even though it just makes us happy. Because it's worth doing if it makes you happy, unless it is a bad thing. I want to thank you all for watching. God bless you, and I urge you all to keep dreaming.